The midday streams do well.
So I have no idea, to be honest. I really am not. So we are live now. So I'm not a big fan of live. I think I like recording it better, and then if I ever need to take down or edit it, I guess I could. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not a big fan. What is your opinion on live as the gentle giant of the solar marketing world, Josiah Atkins?
That is not me. I was talking about somebody else. You're like the third person to say that.
No, I saw you post that, but I said, you know what? You're a gentle giant, in my opinion.
It was two giants. It was like,
here, let's do. So look at that. I have a little banner that says comment down below. So I was talking though, I'm not a huge fan of live. I like that people can ask questions if they want, which is cool. But at the same time, I think it also is, I think Q&As are just different than like legitimate conversations, and it's just, it's fun. So I'll go ahead and what is your opinion on live versus recorded? Because I know that you were working on a podcast. Is that still in the works for you?
This is not coffee, it's alcohol. Just in case you're wondering.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had a podcast, and I don't know. When I do things, I like to do them well, which is weird. So I either do things very quick and messily, or I don't do them at all. And I heard the statistic about podcasts last year, and it's just been like a brain mess up thing for me. Is my camera out of focus? Is that?
I don't know. Looks okay to me. I'm not the person to ask because my setup is always messed up in one way or the other.
Always well, but the statistic I heard was that like basically only 1% of podcasts ever make it past 10 or 20 episodes or something like that. And I'm like, well, if I want to do it right. Like, I don't want to launch a podcast that fails or I don't care about. So we've had a few different ideas, and we haven't found one we really loved yet, but I think Q1 of next year we're going to commit to doing basically a weekly podcast, and we'll basically do some interviews with people in the solar industry, some interesting people I know outside the solar industry, and I think some of our team members too, because we have like a few guys who are just better at what they do in advertising than I am, and it might be interesting for people to see. How do we see what people are saying?
Well, someone just said, see, that's the thing is I'm using StreamYard, which I'm not, as I said, I don't like streaming, but that's the only comment I see, but I think there's probably more on Facebook. But someone said cheers because they were talking about your drink, because you were talking about it being alcohol. What kind of alcohol is it?
It's black coffee.
Oh man, you're supposed to lean into it. But black coffee is good too.
Eggnog?
I don't know. I think it's interesting because podcasts, in a way, it seems so saturated now. It's not like a few years ago when no one now it's every single person that's online. Every marketing person seems to have a podcast. But I think it's kind of, I don't know. I find that I have really enjoyed the small benefits for me and my business and my reputation. And it is kind of fun. I go in spurts. I'm not very good at the whole like weekly show thing. I don't like the idea of a weekly show. I'm more of I film 3 episodes in 13 hours, and then the next week I'll do the same, and then maybe I'll take a couple weeks off and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think, let me ask you this: what kind of podcasts do you enjoy? Like, what is your favorite podcast, and how does that format kind of impact what you're thinking about for your show?
Yeah, I'm a big Joe Rogan fan. So to me, if a podcast isn't 8 hours long, like, did it even happen? So that's what we're shooting for. 8-hour long solar industry podcasts. I don't smoke weed or cigarettes. Maybe I'll get a nice tobacco pipe or something and really
Have you ever done DMT?
lean in. No, I don't. What is DMT?
Do you shoot elk?
Do I hunt?
Yeah,
Is
do you
that what
hunt? Do
you're
you go
asking?
hunting? Yeah, do you shoot elk in
I
Utah?
am a wannabe.
Shout out to
I'm a
this person.
wannabe deer hunter. Yeah, shout out to the commenter.
Yeah, it doesn't even tell
No,
me their names. Oh, laugh out loud. Kyle's going full Joe Rogan. Okay, I'm glad at least somebody got it. I feel like that's the meme with Joe Rogan's podcast is you ask every single guest about their experiences with DMT. Yeah, it's something that I've thought about, and I know this isn't like super in-depth information for the solar industry, so apologies to people that are watching. But it's one of the things that I've thought about is your podcast is really it's either a show about a topic or it's a podcast that revolves around the person, kind of like Joe Rogan. And like eventually I've thought about if I were to branch out and start talking about additional topics and kind of doing that, I would be able to have more fun and maybe I wouldn't, I'd be able to find that kind of consistency that I want. Because one of the things that sucks about this is number one, there's only so many people to talk to in solar that are reputable or interesting. And then number two, talking about solar can get repetitive. I mean, we do it all day for work and we're thinking about it all day and then talking about it to provide value. It's awesome. And people seem to enjoy it, but at the same time, it's, I don't know, it's hard to make it fun. And that's kind of what podcasts are supposed to be.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's one of the reasons Clubhouse took off like it did was
for a week.
Maybe a week and a half. I don't know. My favorite part of Clubhouse is how, like, I joined a podcast. I don't remember who it was, but it was literally like I joined in and like I had an AirPod in and I was putting my kids to bed because I don't know, it's something I typically do at night. My wife does dishes. I put the kids to bed and it's their thing. So I'm sitting in the room. I'm like, oh, look, here's a Clubhouse. I guess I'll check it out. And they're like, oh, hey, it's Josiah from Prospect Bacon. Like, why don't you introduce yourself? And I'm like sitting here in a dark room with like three kids, like 3 and under. And I'm like, hey, hey guys, like I'm putting my kids to bed. And he was like, wow, you don't sound super excited. It's like a rough day. It's like, why do I have to be introduced to listen to this? So that's a big plus of podcasts. You don't have to be introduced because half of the Clubhouse is for people just welcoming people.
No, and the other half from my limited experience is just people talking about how great Clubhouse is. I think that was like the first, no matter what channel I went into on Clubhouse, it was just like, oh yeah, welcome. This is such a great platform, such a cool environment. We're so excited to be here, and Clubhouse is really going to revolutionize everything. And we love like this. It's just so cool. And then, does anyone else want to say anything? And then maybe somebody else. Oh yeah, Clubhouse is the best. And blah blah blah. And I mean, I'm sure it's. I would hope it's not that way now, but that was my initial impression because it was when it was a new thing. It was like the talk, and the talk on Clubhouse was all about Clubhouse, and kind of like rule number 1 of Clubhouse should be not talking about Clubhouse like Fight Club.
The opposite of Fight Club.
Yeah, I just found that it was. I think that stuff that you mentioned with the welcomes, because there was new people coming, because it was a new platform. All the talk was about the newness of it rather than the actual topics, and there's a lot of value on it. But I just remember it was so huge for a very, very short while, and I don't know if anyone is still. Do you still go on it at all or no?
No, I think I saw. I guess somebody I followed or something went live like last week, and I was like, whoa, I still have that on my phone. That's really.
I've noticed it because they change like the picture on their icon like every like 2 months, it seems like, and it keeps changing.
Yeah, it was that Afro guy with the guitar. That's how long it's been since I've really been.
Let's see. I don't know. I know it's a girl now or a woman. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's interesting. I think podcasts are definitely
they had 9 employees when they blew up.
Really?
9. I read some article. It was like it was pretty rough on their business. Like they weren't.
I can't imagine, especially with ever anything goes wrong, millions and millions of people
Yeah.
yelling at you or trying to call you or tweeting at you or whatever it
And
was
I
that they
never
had.
understood how they monetized it. Like I still don't know how Clubhouse makes money.
Neither do I. It's the world of the internet. So let's talk a little bit about solar since we've been talking for 10 minutes now. And I think people like to.
That's actually the secret to selling solar. You talk about everything but solar. Somebody told me
To
that
be
once.
honest, it really is the best, easiest deal I've ever had in my life. I talked to this guy for like an hour about football. And at the end, it was like, he basically was like, okay, yeah, so what's the next step? And I was like, oh, cool. So that's my line usually. But I think it is not talking, at least not talking about solar early on, like building rapport and whatever. There's some people that want to say, hey, like, let's get to it. Like, just give me the numbers. And obviously we're marketing guys and we're not necessarily the ones that deal with that on a daily basis, but it does seem to be much more, the less we talk about solar, the more effective we are able to get to solar, which is interesting. But you have to make sure that you're not offending them either, because there's you don't want to show your true colors if your colors are anything that is divisive or a divisive topic. I had a question for you. I was going to ask you about what is it, because I actually just talked to Jack Burley and I recorded that one because it was more spontaneous and I don't know. I just, like I said, I like recording it better than going live. But I talked to him, and one of the things that we both talked about is the kind of the right people to work with. Or there's certain things that we see with companies that go to online leads or data, and it's just the people that want it to be easy, or the people they don't understand the work involved, or the people that typically fail. And I know you are of a very similar mindset, and he also mentioned that, like, if there's sometimes people that you work with that want to work with you, but it might not be a good fit, and you refer them out. What is it that makes someone a good fit to work with you or to work with online leads in general?
That's that's a great question. Did you leave or did you just switch to a cool screen?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. I'm like,
you're the main focus. I do this when I want to,
pick your nose,
pick my nose, drink my water, drink my coffee, jump
great.
up and down, whatever.
I've just been sipping my coffee the whole time like a noob. So,
yeah. Well, you don't have the screen control, so. But go ahead. Don't let me distract you from the.
I'm good.
The okay question.
Just composing my thoughts right now. I'm just buying time.
Nice hat, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, someone gave it to me. Don't remember who. Christmas gift, probably. So that's a really interesting question, because we have seen companies with gigantic budgets not work leads effectively just as often as we've seen reps, right? And when I was a smaller marketer, not in girth, but in client size, I had this belief that, and it's not even a healthy one. And so I'm going to talk about this out loud a little bit. It's a little taboo probably to speak of, but I almost had this belief that, small reps, when things don't work, are almost like this pain in the neck, right? It's smaller ad spend, smaller management fees. Typically, when things go wrong for them, they're a lot louder than when things are wrong with businesses. Blah, blah, blah. Like we had a company recently, back in August, signed up with us, worked with us for 3 months. At the end of 3 months, they're just like, hey, I don't think we're going to move forward. We're not really seeing what we want. And we're like, well, we're not really hearing from you. Like, This is the first thing we've heard. You've been missing calls, meetings with us. Like, is there a way we can work better? And so we were actually able to like reconcile from there. Yeah, because it was almost like they were too big to care, right? Like departing accounting departments cutting paychecks, somebody else is managing the leads, somebody else is managing the appointments, somebody else is managing installs, right? Like, so how does anybody know? Like, it's some upper tier manager we spoke to once when we set everything up, and so we didn't really have the right points of contact. And I think what makes online leads work um, is the same thing that makes on the marketing side, you have a little bit of a weird mix of, are you in a great market for leads? Are you in an average market for leads? Are you in a crappy market for leads? Like, how high is your CPL going to be based on what other people are spending there? So aside from that, so there's a little bit of area magic to where you are for making leads work, especially on the smaller end of the budget side. But what really makes leads work, I think, are people who uh, are dedicated to learning, are dedicated to putting processes in place. Like when I talk to somebody who's really good at building systems, typically they work the heck out of their leads. They know what to do. They know how to adjust. When I talk to more of your emotional salesperson, which there's nothing wrong with being an emotional salesperson. Like, I just was never an emotional salesperson. Um, like, you're very up and down depending on how you did that week on the doors, depending on how you did on leads. You get a few bad leads in a row. We see those people start getting discouraged, things not working out. So I think the answer to that question, plain and simple, is like anybody can work online leads if you have time, patience, capital, can make systems of it. But I think where people mess up is people expect to talk to a marketing company, get a lead the first week, sign it, close it, and have it go straight to install. Um, and we see this especially with people who aren't used to working online leads, right? Like, what was your first week of door knocking like? Well, it probably wasn't great. Now, some people kill it on the doors at first week. Everything's great. You usually have somebody training you or with you. They're guiding you through all the hoops and stuff like that. And we try to be there and guide people through that. Just people aren't always. You've got other stuff going on, so.
Yeah, I mean, they have to be guidable, right?
Yep.
That's not a word, I don't think, but
Coachable.
They have to be putting in the work and the effort on their end. Like it's hard. People that have never like ran an agency probably don't understand the difficulty of selling, like finding new clients, selling new clients, onboarding new clients, managing current clients' relationships, having all these different clients, and maintaining the relationships with all those different clients. Because it's a little different than like solar sales, where you sign a deal and you check in with them with a text once every month. But for the most part, your job is done. Your main goal at this point is just to hope everything goes well. And whenever the bumps come in the road, you have to talk them through it. But actively receiving feedback and improving and making changes based on that feedback with a whole bunch of people, that's the toughest part. And that's the reason why my marketing side of things, well, there's a bunch of reasons why the marketing side of things on my end really struggled for a long time. But one of the things that always kept me, I feel, from kind of scaling and growing from a small marketing agency to a big business was always that, which was managing that growth, but also handling and communicating with all these different people at all these different companies and all that stuff while still doing everything to run your business. And so that's one of the things that I think is incredible about you and your business, is because you seem to be one of the people who have managed that growth very effectively not necessarily shoving it in everyone's face, but you have gotten to that point where you're able to manage that because you've hired team members and you're not doing everything yourself. What do you, so tell me about like your, from Prospect Bacon's perspective, like how is your agency, now that you're bigger, you're a little bit different than a lot of the smaller agencies, but how is your team structured so that you're able to handle that communication between your clients and address those concerns, hopefully before they cancel?
Yeah. So it's interesting. Most people, my perception of most people is they probably think I run ads out of my mom's basement. But people seem to either come to us and say like, "Hey, you guys seem like you're doing a good thing. We see you guys everywhere," or "What the heck is a Prospect Bacon? If you shaved your beard, you'd look like you were 12. Are you running ads from your mom's basement?" So I think people fall into those camps. But for us, I'm a big fan of assembly lining things in businesses. People having focused roles has always made sense to me. So we've kept. Uh, I've seen other agencies, not specifically in solar, but either you have, the people who run ads are also account managers, or you split the roles up. And to me, it always made sense to split the roles up, right? Like, because if you need people who are really good at running ads and they also need to be really good uh, people, uh, Kyle, I don't know how many media buyers or marketers you've talked to, but you're kind of looking for a bit of a unicorn. I think to find somebody with the creative output that's needed to make good ads and run them, and then also somebody who can, talk to an aggressive client, or you know, uh, eat some bad dog food. When we mess something up. Um, it's hard to find both of those people. So we're running like our business, just pulling everything back. Like we're running about like 103 104 clients right now, active, paying us every month to run ads for them. Managing that, we have 3 account managers. We're looking for a 4th. If you guys are interested, you can message me or go to the website. We're actually actively hiring for Facebook, YouTube, media buyers, and an account manager. So we have our account managers. They're designed to handle 30 to 35 clients a piece. So we have 3 of those currently for the business, and kind of like an operations manager and our COO, who's kind of like upper management over them. And then our Facebook team, we have 4 full-time media buyers with 1 guy who's kind of elevated as a department head. And then on the YouTube side, we have 3 media buyers, including a department head. So we're pretty evenly split between Facebook and YouTube. I think we're typically like 55-45. We're a little heavier on Facebook, but that's because we were on Facebook for, year and a half before we ever touched YouTube, which we launched last October. So that side has just been like we have lots of reps that we've been running Facebook ads for almost 2 years now, or over 2 years at this point, I guess. So.
We have a comment, by the way, and you don't have to answer, but someone asked, how much do you pay media buyers? And I don't know who it was from, but someone did ask that. Because one of the things I know about you is you also, as far as I'm aware, I believe you do hire people that are here in the States. You're not hiring overseas. You're not looking for the cheap options, correct?
Yep. Yeah, 100%. So all our people are in States with bonuses and everything we pay. Like that's typically like $60,000 to $80,000 a year. I've seen people do it with VAs and stuff for cheaper, but just for us, like, I don't know. It's always been important to me to hire people I don't have to actively manage, people that can go out and think. And actually, we have one of our full-time media buyers is in the Philippines, but he actually was running his own agency at one point, and um, so he applied, and like he's just a part of the team. He's just on a 12-hour time difference, which is kind of wild. But you know, he's paid like a full-time U.S. team member, which apparently is really good money in the Philippines. But that's
I
another.
I would assume so.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's a good gig for him, and obviously, if you're happy with his work, that's really awesome.
yep.
Uh, so someone else just asked, just because people are asking, they're really interested in
Hmm.
you, just everything about you, I think. But they asked, where is Josiah and Prospect Bacon's headquarters? So this is number one. I know you just moved, so you used to live in North
Did just move.
Carolina, and
Yep,
now you live in Missouri, correct?
that's true. So the Bat Cave is still located in North Carolina. Left the Batman suit, all the gear there. So vigilante work has been rough, mostly because my knuckles are just like raw. Like I really need to get my Batman suit back. But so our whole company is actually virtual, which is wild. So we have 18 full-time team members across the United States. We also have some VAs we use in our. Oh yeah, completely forgot about our tech uh, department. Sorry, Prospect Bacon, Kyle, because I think you're listening. But we have a tech team too that's got a department head and 3 full-time VAs for all our funnels, integrations, designs, like when we're integrating with other systems, softwares, working in our high level snapshot, because I didn't imagine that offering high level as a service for free to help people call leads would turn into something that actually needs full-time support, which is nuts. Um, but yeah, we are yeah, virtual all across the United States, which has been really weird. If you guys have virtual teams, a tool I would like to plug is, instead of Clubhouse, is called Gather. And Gather is really sweet because we have a virtual office with Super Nintendo graphics in a browser, and we've all built our own spaces and offices, and it's literally like a game, but when you walk up to somebody, your mic and video turns on. So we've been using it for team meetings and stuff, and to just take us out of, like, we live in Slack, and Slack is such a one-dimensional world. Like, it's just text messages all day every day. So it's been nice to throw more face-to-face interaction even in a 2D environment. So
I just looked it up, and it is Super Nintendo like graphics. That's kind of
yeah,
funny.
it
I
makes
mean,
me want to go catch a Charizard.
it makes sense. You know, I'm skeptical about like all the virtual reality, like the metaverse, and people that want to everyone to wear Oculus at home and go look around the office. Like I'm not really sure how I feel about that kind of stuff, but
Hmm.
this looks like fun. So Gather looks like it's the website's gather.town.
Is it
Um,
Gather.town?
I
I
think
was
I
going to
think
say IO, but yeah.
I think so. But then it's also, it doesn't really have, at least what I found was not really the website. It was just like the sign in screen. So, but anyways, that's really cool, because I was going to ask you about what kind of tools you use managing a virtual workforce. And so that helps you to make it maybe more engaging
Yeah.
to interact with people. But what about for, is there anything about it that helps with productivity, or do you use other stuff for that?
No, there's a, how does it go? If you've watched the movie Monty Python and the Holy Grail, there's this part where King Arthur's about to regroup, and he asks the knights, "Should we go to Camelot?" And it's this funny. So Gather is a silly place for us. It's we have some meetings there. It's it is not the productivity hack, but it does bring some humanity back to online culture. Like, we even have a game room in there. Like, you can go and play arcade games together and stuff. we did a game night a few weeks back. We usually do like Quiplash every other Friday or something like that. But somehow me, a couple of VAs, and our CO got stuck trying to teach Catan virtually to the, our VA team members have never played it before. I don't know if you've ever tried to teach Catan.
I've never played Catan.
Yeah. So explaining to somebody in Catan in your house on a Friday night is complicated. Explaining Catan to somebody halfway across the world virtually is its own challenge.
You never realize how hard it is to, like, once you learn and play a game, it's so easy. Like me and my family, we play a game called Monopoly Deal, which is like a card version of Monopoly.
Yep. We had that game got ripped apart in our early marriage years.
Why? So anyways, though, but like that's like a relatively simple game, especially if you already know Monopoly. But at the same time, like taking the 10 minutes to teach somebody it can be challenging and frustrating. So I can't imagine doing it virtually. I also can't imagine a game like Catan, which, like I said, I haven't played it, but from what I know, it's not the shortest or simplest game, just to say the least. So,
but we use Slack. Slack is where we do all of our communication. We use Zoom or Google Meet. I don't know why we haven't decided on one used entirely.
Because they both kind of stink, really. Well, I mean, I guess they don't stink, but it's just not like I've seen apps that are maybe more intuitive and like easier for people to join meetings and stuff, but they don't have the mainstream functionality and integrations that Google Meet or Zoom would have.
Yeah. So we've used both of those, and then we use Asana for task management. We're moving over to a platform called ClickUp.
Oh, I've used ClickUp. I've used Asana too. So I use one that's called Nifty PM, and I like that one a lot. But ClickUp is interesting. It's an app. Their thing is like an app for everything, basically. Yeah. But I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on with them right now with like performance issues, and then
really?
Yeah. So I've been, because I'm in like their Facebook group, and I see a lot of people like, oh, I'm moving back to Asana. This hasn't been fixed. So I don't know. It's a really cool app. The only thing I don't like about ClickUp compared to some others is communication. But if you're still using Slack, then it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Communication in Asana gets kind of wild. Like, I think still only half the company really understands how their inbox works, and my running joke in my own company is what's Asana. So yeah.
Well, you know what's funny is, because we're here talking about like software and organization and project management, and I think that's something that always surprises me, is how little solar companies actually have this kind of stuff. Like I was working with these some new people, and I was like, hey, like, yeah, we can like a project management, so we can like outline like the stuff that we want to make and like timelines, and like communicate about like in threads about specific projects, so that we're not just like doing it all in one general chat. And it's like I'm speaking a foreign language or something. It's interesting. It's people are very old school text message, Facebook message, and that's really it. But it is interesting when you think about it, because it seems like solar is behind the times when it comes to productivity and technology.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some of that, I think, is
not necessary.
I'm trying to.
So while you're thinking,
trying to speak carefully. But.
No, it's okay. I think what I have found, because I'm a software and technology guy, like I have more, like you said, Asana and ClickUp. I've used both those. I've used Trello. I've used Nifty. I've used one called Aura. I've used all these. I used Airtable. I've tried and found everything. And obviously I'm kind of picky, but the reason is because you have to have a system that works for you. If it doesn't work for you, or you don't like using it, then it's going to be very difficult to do that. But the thing with teams is, when you have a team, you have to try to find something that everybody likes using. And then in order to use it effectively. Because just having a to-do list, it doesn't matter if it's in a sauna or if it's on a piece of paper. If you don't have the people that know when they're supposed to do it and when it needs to be done and who they're supposed to tell about it, then it's not going to get done no matter where it's at. So
yeah, I think our first task management software was Todoist. Have you ever seen Todoist?
I like Todoist.
So
it's just not good for teams. I liked it as like a personal thing.
No, it was me and one media. I mean, that's how like dumb we were, right? Like we were like, oh yeah, this works. And so like but when you couldn't check anything off or it would like just go away, right? Like, and then once things go away, there was no way to keep, like it was not great, but we used it for 2 or 3 weeks before finding a sauna. But I think most solar companies, because the way solar works, right? Like, it's not, most people aren't like, all right, imagine this. You are in, that's a good way to say this. Yeah, this is a good example. So say you're like, I came from, like, my background was dropping out of college, basically water softener sales, cable and satellite sales. Then I went into heating and air for some years and then came back to solar and then went into marketing. So I didn't really understand business till I went into the heating and air world. And I think it was because I was on the corporate side, like working for Train directly. I was an account manager in the Carolinas. And I got to really see how businesses worked. But when I was a salesman for satellite, like I never saw that side, right? Like it was like, what can I hunt today? What can I kill today? What can sign up today? I mean, we've talked about this before. Like I never followed up with leads. Like, dude, I would have notebooks of people, and this is how bad it was. Like it'd be a mom saying like, hey, I'm not home, or like I'm busy right now. Can you come back by tomorrow? And I knew there's probably a 50% chance at least she's just saying that as a nice way to get rid of me. So I wouldn't even make the phone call, right? Like I would have information, not make a phone call. And those same bad habits actually carried over to solar, right? Where we're not talking about $175 satellite commission. We're talking about, something that could be literally worth thousands of dollars and a good percentage of my monthly pay. Like let's just move on. What's next? What can I hunt? What can I kill? Because I think that's how good salespeople think. I had a conversation last year with somebody who's probably a top 1%er in solar sales. And I was like, what is it like to sell that many deals a day? And he's like, dude, I don't even know. No, I said, what's it like to sell that many deals a month? He said, I don't even know. All I know is what I did yesterday. And what I did today better than I did yesterday? I lose track of weeks. I lose track of months. It's like every day I'm at zero. I'm starting over. I'm starting over. I'm starting over. And it's thinking like that is what makes people really great salespeople. Sometimes good sales managers, and mostly terrible business owners, right? Like you've ignored this whole part of the business, right? Like you're not thinking about margins, you're not thinking about commission payouts, you're not thinking about pipeline size. And so solar is this amazing world where anybody can come in as a salesperson, and sometimes whether you know what you're doing or not, you can just go out on your own, right? Like there's no test to go sign up for an EPC and start selling solar. I think that will probably start changing in the future, but as of right now, it's possible to sign up with somebody first day in solar, get into a solar group, get really mad about red lines, and go out on your own within your first 2 weeks of even knowing solar sales exist. So how does somebody like that run a business? Like, how does somebody who's only been swinging deals for years and years, because like the salesman never sees what a sales manager sees or what the owner of the sales org sees, right? Like it's just, the positions are so separated. So when people go out on their own, like you have this different set of skills to learn, right? You need to stop reading Grant Cardone and you need to start reading John Maxwell or Jim Collins books, right? Like you need to start figuring out how do business work, how does sales work, how do I grow? And I don't think it's because people are bad at project management or ignore the software. I just think it's something they weren't exposed to or like even saw. Like I know for me, if I hadn't went into that corporate like heating and air world, like I never would have saw that side of the business. And that's something I took to solar. I took to running an agency, and just understanding, like you need people to grow. Like you need people who are better uh, at doing things than what you do. So it's almost like you have to learn what made you really good as a salesman may not directly be what makes you a really great manager or leader, and
Yeah.
picking up different skills and tools to get there. Or you find you're weak in those areas, so you find people to support you there, right? Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it reminds me of this guy that I know, Michael. He was a manager at a paper. He was a salesman at a paper company, one of the best salespeople, in the world. And then he became a manager, and he was just completely over his head. So what made him a great salesperson did not make him a great person to run an office. And
we all cried when he left.
yeah, well, we did. He was a good boss, but he just wasn't really.
Probably not good for Dunder Mifflin, but good for the people that worked there.
Yeah, he would have crushed it with solar. That's for sure.
That's true.
But I agree, and I've seen probably less, and I think maybe my journey in solar has been bumpier because I didn't have those types of things figured out as well as you have. But it is true that anyone who's ever worked in a sales or a management role in another industry that had a boss looking over their shoulder, giving them, making sure that, basically micromanaging them, making sure that they did the specific tasks they needed to do, giving them their projections and their goals and team goals, and having a big whiteboard that's all neatly laid out and basically outlines everything, can really see that solar is, I say this too much, but it's like the Wild West when it comes to people can just show up and not have processes for anything and sell solar. It's crazy. And I think, like you said, as the industry changes, it's going to be more and more standard operating procedures, and those types of things are going to become more and more important. What exactly do you do when you're looking to hire somebody? What questions do you ask? What do you look for? What is the process for offboarding somebody? I've seen companies that don't even get rid of their employees' email addresses, or they don't do anything. They don't even have people sign contracts to work with them. And it's pretty crazy when you think about it, but it is a fun industry to be in because, like you said, everyone's just focused on that next door and that next paycheck. So
yeah, 100%, man.
And don't worry about anything you said, by the way, because me and Jack, and once again, I'll post that one probably next week or something. But we were pretty much more harsh on solar salespeople for an hour, so that was nothing.
That's good. That's locker room talk for marketers, I guess. But
that's what is it? You said red lines, dealer fees, solar marketers, like those are. We could just talk shit about that and everyone probably love it.
That's true. Yeah, I hate red lines. Want to take a second to plug the Prospect Bacon grease line. It's a 75% grease line, but every DocuSign has a 225 adder. So other than that, it's the best. It's the best red line you could ever get. So
yeah, it's funny you mentioned Grant Cardone, because I was talking to Luis last night, and that was a live stream too, and he is a big fan of Grant Cardone, and I like him too. I just think I think he's really great for mindset, energy, marketing, and stuff like that, but you definitely need to have the the boring stuff too, the details, the structure and things. He's not really about that, but he's probably also smart enough to realize that he's surrounded himself with people that are into that. And then you mentioned Maxwell. What are you reading right now?
I don't think I'm reading anything right now, Kyle. I think it's been probably a month and a half since I cracked open a good book. I was reading
you have actual physical you have physical books? You don't like just buy the Kindle version?
I like Audible, but that's my messy papers in the library. But I really like going to used bookstores and just picking interesting titles and covers or things I see that are good.
Ooh, that's interesting. Because I used to be that way, I think. But then I started realizing, I was like, number one, if you get an hour and a half into that book and then you decide you don't like it, that's an hour and a half that you'll never get back. And then from a perspective of if I pretend like my time is as valuable as I want it to be, I don't know. I have to be selective with what books I read.
It's true. Somebody told me recently they look at Blinkist first and see if there's at least 15 minutes worth of content in Blinkist. And if there's at least 15 minutes of content in Blinkist and they agree with the core concepts, they go and listen to that. So I might think about that, but I usually find something. I mean, when I'm reading something, when I'm investing in a course or mastermind, usually I'm looking for like, hey, what's that one thing I can get from this to leverage? And I don't think I've read anything that like I made a post about this book I read, and it was actually pretty awful by the time I got through. It was like the virtual executive or virtual CEO, and it was really interesting because it was written in like 2011, which is a little before kind of the current age of being virtual. But I was like, what does this look like? And then it's basically just, hey, make sure you look presentable. Make sure you're not wearing, your old favorite Old Navy hoodie you've had for 14 years. Stuff like that. And a lot of it was really basic stuff. But what was interesting to me about that book was that lady went on to land speaking gigs. Like it really built her presence teaching really basic information. And I was like, well, wow. Like she was a little ahead of the coaching curve in this book. And so like it was kind of seeing like she had a little experience in the skill people weren't really talking about, and made a niche out of it. And now she gets paid big money to go around and speak. So
yeah,
bad
all
book,
those,
but
hey man, that's people, big companies, and like I worked in city government, and I got sent to those courses. I have no idea how much some of these people make, but it's like, oh yeah, here's how to be professional with email, blah, blah, blah. I wrote the book, and it's a book that you never have seen unless you went to the training course. But yeah, being a specialist and kind of finding your niche, and then even niching down farther seems to be the way to go to kind of do that. Like, being a marketing guy, a lead gen guy, and then working only with solar reps, like that's what we're doing. But maybe even going farther than that, if you're looking to speak or create content or something like that. Yeah, what's funny is being presentable. I just looked because I have my Patagonia, like a blue sweater that I've been wearing, and I wear it a lot mainly because I think I'm broken. Like I'm always cold, and everyone else in my house is always saying it's perfectly fine. So like my body temperature is just out of whack compared to everybody. So it's always cold. And so I'm always wearing my sweater. And then I realized though, like I was editing a thumbnail yesterday. I was like, oh, I've worn this sweater in like my last 9 podcast interviews. I was like, oh, people probably don't think I have clothes. And I was like, oh, okay, so I can't wear it today. So I'm a little cold right now, but I just didn't want to, I obviously don't care too much about my appearance, but I care a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. I just, like, it's never been proven I've wore pants to a podcast yet. So,
dude, I did one in my pajamas, or like a Zoom call, my pajama bottoms, and it felt like like I felt sneaky, like I was getting away with it, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think I remember back in my solar days, one of the only virtual deals I sold two or three, I think, and I remember it like what happened? Somehow I set the appointment at like 8 a.m. Like this lady, she was a nurse or something, like an RN. She was like, "Can you do 8 o'clock in the morning?" And like I had like our twins were pretty new, and our son was old, so I think we had like been up all night and like slept in, and I literally ran the Zoom call in my like boxer briefs. Like it was the weirdest thing ever. But the deal sold. Couldn't install on the roof, but I think that's the only time I've ever uh, sold a deal without actually wearing pants. I have sold wearing shorts, so that's
Oh, dude, all the
close.
time.
But
Anything I've ever done in the summer. I mean, it's weird now because so it's just like more acceptable. Like one of the things I've been thinking about is looking at all the stuff that's just odd. Like I think it's odd that people on like the news, like the local news, are like all dressed up in suits.
mm,
Like I find that strange, and because it just seems so. There's people that can do the exact same thing, and they're doing it on YouTube with more people, and they're not dressed up nearly as much. Um,
mm,
it's just interesting that now it's because it's almost, in a way, it's almost more authentic. Um, Obviously, I'm not saying that people should like do podcasts naked or anything, but uh, being able to just
that's a
be
headline.
be yourself. What? Not do a podcast naked?
Kyle Thumb thinks all podcasters should be naked.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about real transparency, that could be a.
That's
Uh,
true. I do
um,
have a mole. I'm curious about if there's any doctors on the podcast, but we are losing listeners like crazy.
we are. Well, we're also at 50 minutes, and it's
Mm,
middle of the day. So to be honest, we had more listeners than I expected. Um, but I don't. Like I said, I don't care. I don't like live streams, except for everyone that's watching. You guys are great. But I think the main thing is carrying the conversation, but then the talking and providing value in ways that maybe we can clip it, because a lot of people like clips better than the full interview.
that's true. I'm a sucker for a good edited. Like if when I see those pop up on like a reel or
Mhm.
something, like I'm
Hey, look, we're back up at
all that.
8. You
Back up. Oh wow. Book it
so
into manifestation.
yeah. Well, you know what? They're gonna want to stick around, because what we're gonna talk about next is gonna be truly groundbreaking.
Yes.
Josiah, take it away.
Yes. All right. Um, yeah, no, man, it's always been fun. I think doing these with you. I do have another meeting I need to hop over to.
Oh no, it's okay.
Like 5 minutes over.
I thought we were doing like 8 hours. So we have 5 minutes left. We won't do too much. I know. I think I have a lot of fun. It's just like I was doing it with a couple guys that are smaller marketers in solar, and I reached out to them, and some of them aren't even comfortable with it. But it's more like I like to look at it as a way, almost like my goal is to provide value in any way that I can. So if you can drop value bombs, if you can help somebody that's listening that didn't know about software, or has never even talked about project management, or doesn't have any standard operating procedures, then you're able to hopefully provide some value and help them with that. But at the same time, it's like people watching this are people that maybe consider working with you. And the way we handle ourselves and the way that we talk about marketing is a great opportunity for them to see the real you. Even though I don't know if anyone really sees the real you, but in a way, it's like a pre-interview for them to see if they want to work with you, because
Mm,
that's important. You should want to work with people that you trust and that you like, and you're a trustworthy guy who people seem to like for some reason. So it's
yeah.
yeah.
A wise man once told me, "You are the real you when you forgot your wallet at Walmart, and your kids are screaming." So, if you have seen
Tag.
me,
Sorry, I apologize. I didn't mean to. Go ahead.
oh no, that's you can ignore them. They're silly people. The yeah, No, you're the real you after you have kids. I think is a good lesson.
I think
Watch how people interact with their kids in Walmart, and that's how you see the real version of it.
interesting.
Or just don't go to Walmart. That might be the
Or if you manage sales reps are probably the same
worst.
way too. Yeah,
Worse, maybe.
maybe. And
Yeah.
well, without all the positive benefits that you get, like family time and hugs and stuff like that.
Touch.
So we didn't really, because we get off topic way too much. We didn't really talk too much as I wanted to about like standard operating procedures and KPIs. Like, what metrics do you think is most important for people to track or that you see when it comes to working with online leads? So I know you have to go. You have 2 minutes here. Can you give us a gold,
bring it home for the
a gold nugget? What
so
is
sitting up straight, gut sucked in,
and look,
really engaged, lots of hand motions. So the important thing when working was the C backwards. I need to go this way. I don't know which way the camera's. No, the important thing when people are working with online leads, it's to know your numbers, and you should know numbers whether you're door knocking, whether you're managing a team, and it's basically just reverse engineering, right? Like we say all the time, like if you're working leads, 20% lead to appointment, you're gonna have a 50% sit rate on your appointments, and then it's 20% lead to close, right? We have people that blow metrics. Some people close way higher. Some people have a way higher sit rate. Some people have a way higher lead to appointment rate. But like typically it all washes out, right? Like we don't have clients that are doing 50% lead to appointment, 50%, 100% sit rate, and 50% like lead to close. Like we don't see that. So like some of it kind of evens out. But as you start running a business, like you need to learn like where are your numbers, what are your marketing dollars, what are your marketing dollars equal, right? Because if you're using setters, if you have self-gen door knockers, like you should have some idea of like how much activity or dollars is required to get a certain output. And everybody's business looks a little different, Kyle. And I think what first sparked this conversation was talk about reponomics, which I'm probably not going to have time to entirely get into, but knowing your numbers, learning how to get those numbers. I like starting at the end result and reverse engineering from there. Like say you've been door knocking say you door knock for 3 weeks and you keep track of how many doors you knocked every day, how many conversations you had, how many appointments you set, how many appointments did you actually sit with, how many deals did you sell, how many of those pass credit and move forward to install. And if you do that, you should be able to take that end number and backtrack it all the way to doors knocked, right? You're like, okay, I know if I knock 800 doors, I'm going to get, I have no idea what's a good number there because it depends so much on market. So you get 40 appointments.
I know I probably know even less than you, but yes, I get what you're saying.
Work back that way. 40 appointments. I'll have 20 sets. Out of those 20 sets, I'm going to have 4 or 5 credit fails depending on how nice of a neighborhood I'm knocking in. Once you back up from that, maybe looking at 8 to 10, 6 to 8 deals. I feel like that math's wrong. Somebody please correct me in the comments. But like once you can learn numbers like that, okay, for every 100 doors I knock, I'm going to close 0.75 deals. So I need to be hitting more than 100 doors a day if I want to be selling a deal a day. And once you learn like that, you can take the same metrics, apply it to marketing. How many Facebook leads do I need to book an appointment that actually sits? Once you learn that, how much do I need to spend on leads to get a sale? And if the systems and processes are consistent, you're going to get consistent results. So reponomics is a little bit of that on the front end, and then understanding your red line, install times, and stuff like that on the back end. And we'll talk about that at a later time. Man.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. And I think the biggest thing is, without a doubt, more solar people in the solar industry need to know their numbers, whether you're a rep or whether you're a manager. And if you're a manager, not only knowing your numbers, but knowing the numbers that your team has, and communicating that is going to lead to bigger, better results. Josiah, thank you, man. I appreciate you. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll talk again soon.
Good deal. See you, brother.
All right, man. Take care. Oh, wait. And anyone who wants to message Josiah, just message him on Facebook. You all know how to find him. Yep. And if you don't, you can reach out to me and I'll point you in the right direction.
Send me a video of you doing finger guns.
There you have it. Or he won't. There you go.
Or I won't respond.
Okay. All right. Take care, buddy. Bye.
Cool. See you, man. Bye.